Welcome back. You're watching NewsX and I'm Vaishali Kohli. On January 3, 2026, hours after explosions rocked the Venezuelan capital city Caracas, US President Donald Trump announced that the United States had successfully struck the country and captured its leader. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro alongside his wife Cilia Flores. Since then, Maduro has been kept in custody at a New York detention center in Brooklyn to face further drug trafficking-led charges. Pardon me. Now, before the US strikes, Maduro's last public appearance was on the 1st of January on Venezuela's state television channel, VTV. During the interview, Maduro had in fact stated that he was ready to speak with the US government about battling drug trafficking if they wanted to do so seriously. Maduro had also stated that if the US wants Venezuelan oil, the country is ready to accept US investments. The next day, Maduro even met with Chinese Special Envoy Qiu Zikai at the presidential residence, Miraflores Palace. This would become his final public appearance before his capture following the US strikes. Then on the 3rd of January, at around 2 a.m. Eastern Time, US bombs began raining down on Caracas. At the time, however, Venezuelans were unaware of what was about to transpire, as at around 3:50 a.m. Eastern Time, President Maduro would go on to sign an emergency declaration ordering the activation of military defense protocol. Hours later, US President Donald Trump would go on to confirm US strikes on Venezuela while making the big revelation: President Maduro and his wife had been captured by the US forces. Maduro and his wife were taken out of Caracas by helicopter, first being taken aboard the US war USS Iwo Jima. US President Donald Trump took to Truth Social to share the first photo of the captured leader. The Venezuelan president was seen handcuffed and blindfolded aboard the US warship headed to New York. Officials familiar with the operation later stated that Maduro and his wife were captured from their bedroom during the overnight strikes. Maduro finally stepped onto US soil at New York's Stewart Airport. Visuals showed him surrounded by US officials as he was escorted off the plane in handcuffs. Maduro could be seen flashing a thumbs up as officials of the US Drug Enforcement Authority surrounded him. From there, he was taken to New York's headquarters of the Drug Enforcement Authority. Remember, Maduro, his wife, his son, as well as senior functionaries of his government face narco-terrorism and drug trafficking charges brought by the US. Maduro and his wife are currently in federal custody at a New York detention center located in Brooklyn. Maduro and his wife were seen being processed by DEA officials at the headquarters. I have Major General Anuj Mathur, senior defense expert, joining me on the broadcast. And I also have Shruti Dasgupta, foreign affairs expert. Now, I want to go across first to Major General Anuj Mathur. Now, Major General Mathur, just that so much has happened since yesterday when it comes to this issue. What do you really have to say? I'd like to begin with your opening comments.
Jai Hind, Vaishali. Actually, I'm also in US and it is 2 a.m. in the morning here. I'm in Vegas. The issue is very, very clear. My first reaction is that this actually what has happened has got nothing to do with terrorism. It seems to me nothing to do with the terrorism. There is no proven record that he was running a terror company, Maduro. There is no proven record that he had his share of narcotics in the America is less than 1%. The issue is very clear. I think it is linked to the petrol, the capability of the Venezuelan capability to produce a huge amount. They're the largest producers in the world. 20% of the energy, petrol energy, comes from there. That is very clear. And just because 100 years ago, American companies, found this petrol, this thing there, and they were running it, it does not mean that it is theirs. One. Two, you see the history, what had happened in Libya. I don't have to recount that. What happened then to Iraq? What happened then to Iran? There are so many things which have happened, which eventually lead to a point. What is the real reason why America was doing it? And they are not actually keeping it as a secret. Also, a week, 10 days ago, somebody had made a comment that it has been a big time theft of American assets. So the issue continues to remain, Vaishali, that this attack, this taking away of a head of a nation, whoever he may be, whatever democracy, no democracy, it has got nothing to do with democracy also, Vaishali, because there is nothing. They are with Saudi Arabia. They have done. They were in with Chile, Guatemala, Nicaragua, when they were known dictatorships. So it has got very little. This is a cover up, to my mind. The thing continues to remain that Venezuela tried to challenge the currency, the dollar. They were about to join BRICS summit. They were planning to get into BRICS. They were planning to do trade in there. They're continuously selling their fuel, their energy assets to China and yuan. So anything that threatens any which way the American dollar, the results are was what we have seen, what has happened to Libya, what has happened to Gaddafi, what has happened to Iran, Saddam Hussein, Iraq. All these things are very clear and issue. Now, second point, America now says, Trump says that he will run Venezuela till the time they find some reasonable government there. I don't understand what is the meaning of that. How will they run it? Are they going to send army there? Are they going to put somebody from America there to oversee things or to run things? It is not going to be easy. So my mind says, Vaishali, that it has landed a nation into a deep issue of a probable, a war, this thing within the country. You will find Grehayuddha, what you call it. It may well be a possibility after some time. So issue is, Vaishali, they created this problem. They have captured him for reasons other than democracy, drugs, and terror. None of these things are, to my mind, proven, things of Maduro and Venezuela. So point is that what has happened, to my mind, is against the international legal, accepted norms. I think like this should not happen. You cannot go capture a head of a nation, no matter what way he has been elected or what. Who are you to decide? Actually, you tell me. Who are you to sort of decide whether this is democracy or this one, that one, or a country should follow a particular form of governance? It is all related to money, dollars, alternative currency, possibility of joining BRICS, and the things like that. So, governing Venezuela by a proxy is not going to be an easy thing for the United States of America. What actually happens in the country of Venezuela in next 2 3 days will determine. Second issue, Iran, Russia, China have already started denouncing this act. So what international repercussions will be there will also determine a possible future course in times to come. Things remain uncertain, And this kind of what I would call it, this kind of an issue, Dadagiri it can be called, should not have been set as a precedence, Vaishali.
Absolutely, Major General Mathur. Other than Netanyahu, we've not heard of any other nation which has out and out defended Trump on this. I want to go across to Shruti Dasgupta. She's a foreign affairs expert. Now, Shruti, how does head of state immunity really apply in cases involving alleged narcotics trafficking or terrorism?
The wonderful part about where he's being indicted right now, Vaishali, is that it does not matter whether the person who has been brought to the place to where the cases are being fought is being brought willingly or under legal matters or not. Maduro being captured, kidnapped, whichever words you want to use for it, and presented on US soil to be persecuted legally is pretty much allowable. Now, since 2019, US has not recognized Maduro as the head of state of Venezuela, which is when they had imposed the oil sanctions on this nation itself. So Maduro does not get the same immunity as a normal head of state would. He is considered whatever they have labeled it. They've labeled him a narco-terrorist, I believe, very, very in black and white over there. So there is no jurisdictional compromise, at least as far as USA is concerned. Of course, for the UN, this is terrible news because now they're going to have to ensure that the persecution or the legal prosecution is held according to international norms. I don't see them doing anything beyond that. No other. They have custody of the man. They can do whatever with him. They've done it before. They'll do it again. So this is not going to find itself in loopholes otherwise. The actions that have happened under the emergency powers entrusted in the president under Article 2. Now, this emergency power, specifically use of military force, which has happened in Venezuela, has to pass under the Congress. That was not done in this particular case. So, the capture of Maduro, that particular action, the putting Delta forces there, having it live, seeing it live, sharing video footage of it shows that Trump has broken US law as the president. Now that is where the gray zone is, but they can persecute or they can ask for impeachment or they can hold Trump accountable, but Maduro they can legally prosecute because the law allows it in USA and UN can do nothing about it.
All right. I want to go across now to Major General Anuj Mathur. Now, Major General Mathur, this kind of reaction by Trump, even when Maduro had said that he was open to US investments in their oil, and he was open to a few things, he was open to conversation, he was open to talks, and in spite of that, the very next day Trump goes and does something like this. Do you think this is valid?
You see whether he was trying to, he knew. Maduro was probably aware that what US is capable of doing and what is coming to his end, and that is why he was making compromising statements. But America, some way or the other, they were of the view that it may not actually happen. One, two, possibly they thought that it would be not possible for Venezuela to be able to do that because Venezuela's economic condition today is precarious to say the least. And in such kind of thing, their dependence on certain things like trading, selling oil to China in lieu of loans. I know they are in a very bad economic shape as of today. And the Americans may well have thought that there is the only possible way to handle this is to go there and start, as claims Trump, that you start making money for the country, Venezuela. But you brought him. The system continues to remain there. Today, Venezuela, they have their government of Maduro, which is in place. There has been no, change of regime in the sense that you have not changed the system. You've changed one man. The system remains, and that puts Venezuela into a very, very tight spot because there will be three different types of people in Venezuela probably fighting against each other. I was trying to hint a possible, civil war kind of a situation in Venezuela. So as long as while I agree with her that he can be tried under the United States laws, but this is a very blatant aggression into a sovereign country. And now you are saying that you will run that country for some months or whatever time till the time you get a government. What government is he talking about? What are they wanting a government which is run by the United States? Or so the issue is while there may be any kind of problems with Maduro, but this is not to my mind, and it should not be an internationally accepted, way of doing things with the sovereign state. So, to my mind, it is not going to be easy for the United States, nor is it going to be easy for international agencies to how to handle this kind of a situation. It is a probable repeat of Libya and Iraq, and wherever the challenge to the currency was there, because people doing Russia, China doing the trade in yuans. So lot of issues are there which are probably directly, indirectly challenging the might of dollar. So that is probably one of the point, and 20% of the world's oil going into that non-dollar kind of a trading was, to my mind, the main issue. It is not going to be very easy to handle things in Venezuela because you have not. Are we going to see American boots on ground? He has said yes, yes. There may be how many? Can you send there 10,000 troops? How will they manage and run the country, another country? They occupied it. It is, to my mind, it is very, very difficult question, very, very difficult thing. So whatever they may be saying, they will have to find a political answer to this issue which is acceptable to the people of Venezuela. That is very, very clear. To me, it is not going to be very easy, but things, let's see how things turn out. But good military operation, as a military leader, I'm telling you, an outstanding operation. 150 aircrafts used from all over the Western globe, and they did it. But politically, and from the point of view of Venezuela as a nation, to me, this is a blatant aggression by Shadi.
So now I want to bring in Shruti Dasgupta. Now, Shruti, now that Trump's taken over Venezuela, an official announcement there. Now, what impact do you think this will have on global oil markets and energy prices?
Well, the push against the oil prices will not be much, and India, of course, should not worry at all. After the 2019 derecognition of Maduro regime, we had decoupled from Venezuela as a oil supplier. So we've not very small amount trickles through. We're mostly dealing with Brazil as far as oil is concerned in that part of the world. What we do know is that Brazil and India and other nations have their money just stuck in Venezuela. It's at the PDVSA that we've been speaking about. They had their when they were nationalized, not just USA, many other nations lost their stakes in that particular takeover. And so all these nations will now be presenting their legal claims and asking for their money back. And hopefully, if there is even like a small 10% sense of justice in whatever Trump and his regime is going to try and do, at least as far as the oil markets are concerned, then they would be making sure that the stakes, that everybody's stakes are played out. Otherwise, he's going to have a bigger problem on his hands, because that would mean that he has not like already there's this big question. In fact, there's not a question, it's an exclamation mark, that this is never about freedom or democracy. But at least in terms of oils, it would be that, okay, everybody gets their fair share back. Everybody who's lost their stake, I think we have, I think 500 million, if the ONGC Videsh has 500 million stuck there in PDVSA. So that would be claimed back. 1 billion by Brazil OVL is stuck there. That would be claimed back. So the oil markets, their oil companies would be probably looking forward to see how they're going to manage this entire oil structure of Venezuela, and whether they will be able to recover from their losses or not. India will be viewing it as well. The global prices are not going to, struggle much, because it's not as if the trade was impacting many nations. This trade, about 90% of it went to China only, and a small part of it went direct crude oil to crude oil transfer with Iran, and or sometimes crude to gold with Iran. So these were the two nations that they were actually dealing with in their shadow fleets with oil. So Iran obviously is facing its own troubles right now. China is the one that's going to face the bigger impact of it, and that works out very well for Russia, right? You've seen that Russia has been, dealing with depending on China very heavily during this entire Ukraine operation. Because of its isolation from Europe and USA, China has become its strong pillar. So cutting off one of its major suppliers of oil makes sure that China is heavily now dependent on what Russia is able to provide it, and that would make sure that the interests of Russia and China balance out on the global political stage. So I've stated it before on your program and other platforms as well, that I think this has been a very underhand deal that has been done between Putin and Trump, that I will stay out of Venezuela no matter what political statements I put out. Otherwise, after so many months of increased step-by-step aggression, there would have been some counterbalance happening across the world, but nobody intervened. And you helped me get out of my problem in Ukraine. That would be probably the underhand deal that USA and Russia have worked out for themselves. This particular cutting off of China's supply of oil would bring more balance to Russia-China relationship. Otherwise, global partners will not find much change in their global oil prices or even the global economies as such. What will impact is the panic that is now going to set in the Southern American regions. Because if this is Venezuela, because of its rich oil reserves, its rich gold reserves, its rich rare earth element reserves, is open target in the name of democracy, which nation next? So we're going to see either rampant trade deals with USA, people just bowing down to Trump and saying, okay, do whatever you want, just don't interfere with our internal politics, or and we will see an increase in defense buying. So there's going to be people shoring up their defense reserves, people training their soldiers more in case there is going to be an aggression, whether covert or overt. Other South American nations are going to wake up smelling coffee and saying, not us, at least not us next. This is why Chile has to wake up. They've already said that they do not enjoy this entire spectacle that USA is championing. Brazil is very scared because it shares a border with Venezuela. If there are boots on ground in Venezuela, that means there is US force directly opposite of Brazil. So there are multiple players in South America that are going to feel very, very scared. So economy-wise, unless USA becomes a greedy wolf in this entire state, I'm sure they're not going to be, because they need to look as a benevolent power right now and say, look, we're not doing this for ourselves. So they're probably going to help nations whose assets were stuck in PDVSA get their fair share back, while they extract the billions out of it and make themselves rich. And as Sir has said earlier, kind of balance out the petrodollar deal, because now they have control of what Saudi Arabia, because although there is no petrodollar deal anymore, they have signed a deal with Saudi Arabia in the last few months with regards to petroleum crudes, and now they have control of these 18% reserves of crudes from Venezuela. So they're in a very happy state as of now. They know that they, at least if not stopped the de-dollarization that was happening across the world, at least put a pause to it, given them breathing space and given them access to the resources to stabilize their currency in the short term for now.
All right, I want to now go across to Major General Anuj Mathur. Now, Major General Mathur, whatever has happened, do you think this could significantly destabilize diplomatic norms regarding sovereignty?
Vaishali, look, America is a very, very powerful nation, both economically and militarily. As Shruti is trying to say, it's very clear now. It has sent a very clear message to a large number of other countries which cannot be directly supported by powers like Russia and China, and directly in the sense is physically supported by them, and are very weak in front of United States of America. They will be forced to follow what is coming up. I was saying that Vaishali earlier also, that it has sent a very strong message to two things. One, the countries in the Latin American region to possibly listen to what America would demands. Second thing is the growing influence of China in that region. After all, today the superpower rivalry is between China and America, and China in a few aspects, few parameters is way ahead of United States of America. So issue continues to remain to get the Chinese influence reduced. How China, Venezuela had become virtually totally dependent on China is the thing which was probably hurting United States most. The answer to your question would be that it is out of fear. It is out of fear and a possibility of a military aggression from a true superpower, which is going to drive some of the actions. But I must tell you here that it cannot go on forever. The issue needs to be taken up by the international fraternity. They need to know how and how much are we going to allow things like these to happen in this globe. It is a sovereign nation, to my mind. Any aggression there.
Major General Mathur, we're actually short of time, but I really want to thank you for joining us, because you've been joining us from the States at 2 a.m. in the night, as you were mentioning. Thank you. And Shruti Dasgupta, thank you for joining me as well. And with that, we're slipping into a short commercial break. We'll see you on the other side.